live on Kesmi 107.1 FM. Around the world, you're streaming live on 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Illegal mining thriving despite huge investment in combating the menace. This afternoon, we take you to the Ashanti region, where the illegality is ongoing with impunity. Also, looming health danger as traders reportedly prepare cassava dough with contaminated water. Later this afternoon, National Council of New Patriotic Party in crunch meeting geared towards preparations for the 2024 elections. Meanwhile, the party is expected to announce a change in the leadership of its caucus in Parliament. Thank you very much for joining us. The fight against illegal mining appears to have hit a snag. Despite the investment of resources to end the menace, the illegality continues with impunity in many mining communities in the Ashanti region. Ibrahim Abubakar joins us with some details. Ibrahim, you have in recent times visited some mining communities. Per what you've seen, would you say that the case, there has been a progress rather in government's quest to end illegal mining?
Beatrice, not at all, because it appears news sites keep bringing up repeatedly in most of the mining communities and talk about Amansia West, Amansia South, and even Amansia Central, where illegal mining activities are very, very rife in these communities. And you go there every day, you see news sites, like I rightly said, and it appears no one really cares. You see some sites just very close to police station, and even maybe at the back of the office of the municipal chief executive. You go on daytime or in daytime, you see them working and nothing is happening. Even some of those who have license and are doing small-scale mining, you observe that.
Hello, Ibrahim.
Because they are still destroying water bodies and the like. So, I engaged with a mineral economist who said that the only way for this fight to be won is to make sure that we arrest the big bosses, because this is a case where day in, day out, miners are prosecuted, but these are just ordinary workers that are seen on the site, and after their prosecution, new workers will come and the activity will continue. I engaged briefly with Henry Entry, who is a mineral economist, on how to deal with this matter.
So we'll hear him and we'll come back to you. Ibrahim, hold on.
These galamseyers are paid daily wages to work for big sponsors. So unless we approach those big sponsors and prosecute them, that challenge will be there. The political will to find these sponsors of galamseyers, I don't think is available now. Sometimes too, it's very difficult to differentiate between what is illegal and what's legal, because some of them are all polluting the environment. And therefore, that's why I described the Impuntio model, which has been developed by a colleague, to have a technical hub that provides expertise to these small-scale miners, because they don't have the financial muscle to be able to hire geologists, mining engineers, metallurgists. If you have a technical hub, whether at the University of Mines and Technology or K University, then they provide the technical services to these mines on an as-needed basis. And therefore, they all pay for it rather than one company paying for a geologist and so on. And that will streamline things and make sure that they incorporate proper health safety standards in the operations, and then they don't pollute the environment too much. So we need to sustain these small-scale miners because it creates jobs, it leads to economic development, and so on. But we have to tidy it up so that they do responsible mining and then don't degrade the land too much.
And you just had Engineer Henry Entry. He's a mineral economist, and I still have on the line with me Ibrahim Abubakar, Ashanti regional correspondent. Ibrahim, we just heard that man there with his proposal, but really, what more is being done to deal with this problem? Because I know in recent times there have been calls for DCs and even chiefs to intensify efforts at getting this issue dealt with.
Beatrice, you are right, but like I said earlier, it appears the local authorities are not doing enough, because you move close to a police, behind the police station, you see this illegal activity going on, and even at the back of the offices of the municipal or district chiefs, executives. They will tell you that they fight and fight, and they appear fed up because so-called big men are involved in this activity, and it becomes very, very difficult for you to tackle it alone. So they want it to be done in a way that whoever is involved can be or will be prosecuted. Because I recall we went with on a soup with the military, and just when we started making some arrests, calls came in court above that they should stop that activity at that particular site. So it kind of discouraged the people who have even been taxed to fight this menace. So until it is done collectively, Beatrice, I'm sure we'll be speaking on this over and over, and we wouldn't have any headway.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Abubakar there. He's our man in the Ashanti region. We heard to the Western region where there is a public health alert as residents of Takoradi, Accra and their environs are reported to be consuming contaminated food products made of cassava. This is because some traders at Gwira Dominase in the Evalwe Ajumaro Jura municipality of the Western region are using water from the Galamsey contaminated Ankobra River to prepare cassava dough, which is sent to market centers in Takoradi, Accra and beyond. My colleague in the Western region, Irama Smith, joins us live on the phone with some more on this disturbing story. Irama, obviously this is sounding indeed alarming. Tell us more about the situation.
You're right. The situation is very, very scary. So what these women do is that they fetch the water from the Ankobra River, and because of the turbidity, they buy the chemical alum, 10 cedis of it, and then they add it to clear the water, and it is good enough for them. That is what they use to mix the cassava dough, which is, used for acheke, banku, and other delicacies that we enjoy here in the south of Ghana. The sad thing about it is they seem not to be aware of the dangers posed by the Galamsey activities on the river to the human body, because we are going to ingest these things that they are preparing, but they are more concerned about the turbidity of the water, and that is the action that they've taken about it, though they are calling for intervention to make the water clearer. Listen to them.
Emma Gurama ina yedu ebikwa takrade akra kumas bebia Ghana fane ina eduan we ebikwa ho na imagine say chemicals kwampa wo so munye izi ya sapa alam pensidi edi egu mensuo ne eni abeye se asne de mese acheke aban ye sraw bo kwampa bi ni Gurama asase so nsuo we ebia so ne yese eno ngo ebira munum yo aban imagine say chemicals abekwa mimu no se so ba kwampa betwa me scanner ayi se wo de me kwoto dem ho wa yi a aban ye blow yes ramo yes, you can't wait to abandon.
Cousin Suano, Yanom, Yadia Bibia, and the idea, Yano, I can be a Yugo, Yadia Diane. Then say, Gamso was saying swimming in a never put Bibia, Alam the Dugum, and no say ye. Alam the Seguna Noa, what boy Yari.
I take a plump yano. Say a trial, good swim, and swim and ya what ya. Here to Midday, I check on. Say a plum swim, but in here and see.
And you heard that some residents of the Western region. Our correspondent is still on the line with us. Let's wrap up our conversation with Irama. What about the Ankobra River and the activities of illegal miners? How polluted would you say it is?
You will realize that when we talk about water bodies that are being used for Galamsey, one of the top ones is the Ankobra River. There have been several efforts to get rid of the illegal miners from the river, but they have so far not been successful. When you go there right now, you see some Chinese nationals and other African nationals, Togolese, among others, operating on the river. So you can imagine the quantities of cyanide that have been deposited into the river. The saddest thing about it too is that even those who are not necessarily operating on the river have directed their waste into the river. So they operate from elsewhere, and you see water from wherever they are operating from being deposited into this river body. So you can imagine the extent of damage that is being caused to this water body. And then these women innocently, naively go and then fetch it, add along to it, and use it to prepare food for the market. So that is the situation.
Quite disturbing there. Thank you very much, Irama Smith, reporting live from the Western region. We stay on land or environment-related issues, and the Lands Minister, Samuel Abu-Jadapo, has asked his former deputy, Benito Usubio, to be his advisor on special projects following the revocation of the latter's appointment by the president. This would come in barely a week after Usubio lost his job as a deputy Lands Minister in the recent reshuffle by President Akufo-Addo. The president reshuffled his cabinet, which saw some ministers, including Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, Health Minister Kwekwagyema Menu, among others, lose their positions. Well, now Owusubio's boss wants him back in business. In a statement, Abu-Jadapo said, among other things, that Bio would help with the National Alternative Livelihood Program and Ghana Landscape Restoration, as well as the small-scale mining project. A letter to that effect states that Mr. Owusubio, who is the Member of Parliament for Atwimangwa Biaja, will not be paid for this job. I'm joined on the line now by former Lands Minister and lawyer Inisa Fuseni. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for asking. Mr. Fuseni, the minister may have the administrative right, as it were, to appoint who he thinks would help his work. But does this sound a bit fishy? That the deputy minister who was not reappointed in the last reshuffle is now being given appointment to come back to the ministry?
Well, it's even bizarre, not fishy. It's bizarre. The Benito Owusubio was not at the ministry. Was sent to the ministry by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as deputy minister. There was there before Abu-Jadapo went there, and I mean as a public institution, the person who has power and authority to appoint people to that place, it's the president, and not Abu-Jadapo. Abu-Jadapo is a political head of that ministry, and the person who has administrative authority over that ministry is the chief director.
So you think that Abu-Jadapo is using the back door to get Usubio back? That's what you're saying?
The back door, but it lends credence to the perception that Usubio has unfinished business over there, and Abu-Jadapo is bringing him back to continue with his business. Whatever business he's doing there, he wants to be there to supervise his business and not any advice. Because when he was there, the minister, as deputy minister, the minister had advisors on how to go about the implementing government policy on the matters that he has raised in his letter. And for you to bring him back as advisor, again, when you have the Minerals Commission, you have the Lands Commission, you have the Forestry Commission. It beats my mind what Abu-Jadapo wants the minister to be doing, apart from continuing to pretend over the businesses, private interests that he had at the ministry.
But Mr. Fuseni, is it not also right that in as much as the Constitution may not be clear as to whether or not the minister has the authority to appoint anybody, the minister also has the laxity of at least employing, as it were, somebody he believes would help his work?
Well, the Constitution is very clear. You will look at Article 199 of the Constitution. It's very clear. Anybody, the person who has power to appoint into public service is the president. He can give the power to somebody else to do that on his behalf. And if we're going to give the power to somebody to do that on his behalf, it will be the administrative head of the ministry, and that's the chief director.
Mr. Fuseni, finally, would you have made this argument if Mr. Jadapo had requested for a different person to advise him on special projects, like he stated in his letter?
The dynamics would have changed, not so. That person would not have been at the ministry. And even if that person were at the ministry, he will be, within the public sector, the public service establishment, who is being brought to the ministry to assist in implementing government projects and policies. Now, upon bill, then it's to bill, was at the ministry. I said, as a deputy minister, the president thinks that he served in that capacity, is satisfied with his work and thanked him for his services. Now, it's bizarre also that the minister would bring him back as advisor to what? For what? So who was advising the minister at the time that he was implementing the project? If it was upon bill or also bill, he's not being given another minister, another deputy minister in his stead.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, Inisa Fuseni. He is a former lands minister. He's also a lawyer. Thank you for speaking to us. Let's do some politics now. And the leadership of the governing New Patriotic Party, NPP, is in a crunch meeting this afternoon to discuss its preparedness for the 2024 elections. The meeting will, among other things, deliberate on a report from the recent parliamentary primaries and the choice of personnel to man flag bearer Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's campaign. The party will also take a decision on the Yendi primary, which is the subject of dispute, although local party executives declared the incumbent winner. Duke Opoku Mensah is monitoring events for us from the Alisa Hotel in Accra. He joins us live. What can you report?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, what can you report from this ongoing meeting?
Yes, well, I can tell you that the National Executive Committee meeting is will start very soon, and discussions are still underway. As we reported earlier, a number of things for them to consider. First of all is to consider the reports from the various committees that supervised the NPP's just ended incumbent NPP parliamentary primaries across the country. They'll be taking reports from them. They will firm up their decisions on the reports and then take a look at the issues in constituencies where there are some disputes surrounding the elections that took place. Notable among them is Yendi. They will also consider the campaign structure, which is the campaign structure that will be presented to them by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as to who would be leading the onslaught with the 2024 campaign. Some names we are picking up include Frederick Opayansa as campaign manager, Adam Butcher as campaign chairman, and a number of others to handle very specific areas. And then there is also the issue regarding the running mates and questions. That will be coming out of that. But all these will be done at the National Executive Committee before they go to a National Council meeting, which is a higher body than the NEC. And at the National Council, that's where the Vice President will be. He will present his list, it will be scrutinized, and then later on outlawed at the Council meeting. We are told that he will also be making a further plea to Council to give him more time up till April to be able to name who his running mate is or will be, who will partner him for the 2024 elections, Beatrice.
Thank you very much, Duke Opoku Mensah. He is a man monitoring that crunch meeting with the NPP. You're still here on the Midday News on 3FM with me, Beatrice. To stay with us. When we come back, we'll bring you some more stories on the NPP and other news you need to know about.
Freezer, yeah, diaba. Adama for diaba. Freezer. Adama. What's the mention? Adama. Make him so. My sorry. Can you know? Obo Moasia. I do fresh the Nobium Unum and San Last 9. I don't know what we do. Adama for Adama from what we say. Yeah, the Adroba Cope, a ship we be a high technology. I could for freezer. When Kwan. And once open your 15 letters. No fugum, what ya no fugum. What the bus here? If we be any of us, you equal to say, over Timono. Then we sure say, women show task here. Then what's enough for now? Freezer, power up a day. Freezer, Dacia, a basson do so among Amoniaji. Me what's he got? Me. But you men never do some doom. Adama, without Adama, no queer. Adama, you can't resist.
Ubenya Adama West Africa for a dream, or baby bear a tongue cry who made you. I say, Kayone Kinkai in Choya, a dream.
And you're still here on the Midday News on 3FM. My name is Beatrice. Thank you for staying. Now, barring any unforeseen development, there is expected to be a shake-up in the leadership of the NPP in Parliament. Sources say that the change has been necessitated by the decision of the majority leader, Oseche Mensah Bonsu, not to seek a fresh mandate upon the expiration of his term. The move is also to help the party present new faces going into the December polls. 3FM News understands that Member of Parliament for Ifutu, Alexander Apenyomarkin, has been penciled to take over from Oseche Mensah Bonsu. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Komla Kluche is monitoring events for us. He joins us live. Hello, Komla, can you hear me? Still trying to reach Komla there, and of course we hinted you of this last week when we had the information that it was possible the majority was going to change, make some changes as regards leadership following the reshuffle. And of course, as you know, Oseche Mensah Bonsu is not going again in the December elections, and other old people who have also bowed out of Parliament, and the changes that are expected to help strengthen the leadership of the NPP in Parliament. You're still here on the Midday News with me. Stay with us. And you're still here on the Midday News with me, Beatrice. Now, government has rolled out a new system called Tap and Go for the Metro Mass Transit. This new system is expected to plug revenue leakages and also improve turnaround time for prospective passengers. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who announced the new system, said it will be replicated for all transport systems in the country.
Of boarding a bus or a trotro with a 50 CD or a 100 CD load, and its associated discomfort of the driver's mate not having change and having to spend more time will soon be a thing of the past. With the Tap and Go system, the issue of drivers not trusting their mates to fully account for the day's sales will soon be a thing of the past. With the Tap and Go system, the problem of vehicle owners worrying about accurate daily takings and the whereabouts of their vehicles at any given time will also be a thing of the past. With the Tap and Go system, the problem of diversion of funds within state-owned intra and intercity buses will also be a thing of the past, as the system will help check corruption by promoting transparency.
You heard the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. I'll bring you more on the story soon. But let's go back to our first story, our earlier story about some changes that are expected to happen within the majority caucus in Parliament. Komla Kluche is our man there. He joins us live. Komla, what more can you report on this?
Well, what our detailed sources are confirming is the shake-up. Already in the past week, we are seeing some indication of the sort that yes, indeed, there's some shake-up in the majority front bench. And what we're hearing is that the current majority leader, Oseche Mensah Bonsu, would be having a key role to play in the Dr. Bawumia campaign team, supposedly leading the manifesto committee. So he will be moving on. Of course, he's not coming back to Parliament. We get indication also that he could be replacing the Foreign Affairs Minister. And so, I mean, it's almost a done deal that he's getting out of the front bench. However, his deputy majority leader is likely to be taking over from him. And then the chief whip, Frank Anodompre, is going to be ascending to the deputy majority leader position. So in that order, his deputy, Habib Idris, who is the Tolong MP, will also be moving upwards. There are two introductions, however, who are fresh. We have Patricia Piege, who is also going to be taking over from Lydia Al-Hassan, who is the first deputy whip. Lydia Al-Hassan has a ministerial appointment, and so she would be going out of the front bench. That's automatic. And also Alex Tete, who is the Sefia Kontumba MP, would also be moving into the leadership front bench. And so these are what our deep throat sources are telling us. If it's anything to go, but of course we have seen in recent past about the last 1.5 weeks or so, some indication of some transition. But the process is that if all of this is approved, the party will have to write to Mr. Speaker. Then Mr. Speaker would now communicate, to the entire membership of the House. If that is done, then it takes effect then. So just like they did for the NDC, it will not be too much of a big deal. It wouldn't be a back and forth issue, and that they are supposed to hold this. What we are also getting is that these rules, if confirmed by the leadership of the party in that meeting that's currently ongoing at the Lisa Hotel, then it will be taking immediate effect. So it means that it will be taking effect today. And if that's also confirmed, then it means that the sort of transition that we are seeing amongst the leadership here, then it will also be taking effect today then.
Komla, we also do know that the PAC has resumed sitting today. We understand that some workers of SNIT are to take their turn before the committee members. Can you tell us anything as regards what's happening there?
Yes, the Social Security and National Insurance Trust has been meeting the Public Accounts Committee. They have been justifying their books, but what it is that they have indicated that the self-employment enrollment onto the SNIT insurance role is becoming increasing, and in the last year after the launch, it is jumped to over 70,000, and that's a significant jump from the about 16,000 that they had with. And looking at the years ahead, if there's anything to go by, they believe strongly that people in the informal sector would get themselves enrolled onto the self-employment scheme of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust.
Thank you very much, Komla Kluche, speaking to us live from Parliament. Now, the partisan politics case against Begro and Kobiahene Bafo Redu Minta at the Chebi Traditional Council has been cancelled, and the chief cautioned. The Ankobiahene of the Begro Stew, Bafo Redu Ejako Minta II, this morning faced the Achimabwaka Traditional Council for comment he made during the visit of former President John Mahama to his area last week. The comments, according to three chiefs within the Begro area who petitioned the council seeking an imposition of sanctions on the Ankobiahene, amounts to participating in partisan politics, an indication that he has endorsed the NDC flag bearer John Mahama. This will, however, not be the first time such a thing has happened in the Fourth Republic, even though the Constitution speaks against the participation of chiefs in active partisan politics. Yvonne Nekwe is our correspondent there. She also joins us live. Yvonne, what can you tell us on this?
Good afternoon, Beatrice.
Hi, Yvonne. Good afternoon. What can you tell us as regards the latest decision on this chief?
Okay, so as I said to you, proceedings by the Chebi Traditional Council has come to an end. It was just about 20 minutes closed-door meeting held by just the traditional authorities and the chief, who is the respondent in this case. At the end of the day, the Traditional Council has taken a decision to call off the case. What they have done is to just give a caution to the Ankobiahene not to repeat such statements again in public domain. He is said to have apologized to the Achimabwaka Traditional Council for such remarks. And so, as I speak to you, the matter has been called off and case ended.
Thank you very much. Yvonne Nekwe is our correspondent in the Eastern region. We can now hear the lawyer for the chief who has been speaking to us as well.
We all know pretty much what has transpired. And so today we came before Nananum, for the matter to be heard. Now, the chiefs, upon, consultations, decided to step in and to bring this matter to an end. And so what they did was that they called the parties to chambers and gave them an advice. As for the kind of advice, because this was in chambers, I'm unable to speak to that. But the bottom line is that the case today has come to an end. The case has come to an end means that it won't be called again. It has come to a complete end.
And you heard Isaac Minta Alabi, his lawyer for the Begro Ankobia Henibafu Redu Minta, who is a chief in the Eastern region. And that's how we end the news here on 3FM. My name is Beatrice. Thank you very much for joining us. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Business Daily. I'm Michael Obudu. Coming up, AFDB projects modest growth rate of 2.8% for Ghana in 2024. Plus, Telco Chamber throws support to NPP presidential candidate Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia's plan to scrap the e-levy.
Well, I think the point about it is that you know that as a chamber we have been talking about the fact that the principle of the policy is wrong. I would support anybody who would want to take out the e-levy.
We'll bring you details of our headlines and many more stories shortly. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying. Straight into our top story. The African Development Bank, AFDB, is forecasting a modest growth rate of 2.8% for Ghana in 2024 from the estimated 1.5% forecast in 2023. The projection places Ghana at the bottom of the growth ladder in West Africa for the year. This report has the details.
The bank cites ongoing fiscal consolidation efforts and persistently high inflation as key factors. The AFDB made the disclosure in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, as part of its Africa's Macroeconomic Performance and Outlook 2024 report. The forecast echoes Ghanaian government estimate, indicating a consensus regarding the country's economic trajectory. The AFDB underscores the influence of the International Monetary Fund program on Ghana's private sector and household consumption, limiting spending across sectors. Ghana and Nigeria are expected to fall below the West African region's average growth rate of 4.0% in 2024, with Nigeria's economy poised to expand by 2.9%. Meanwhile, Niger is projected to emerge as the continent's growth leader, anticipating a remarkable 11.2% growth rate in 2024, stimulated by hydrocarbon production and exports. Amidst these projections, the AFDB's report underscores the complex economic landscape shaping growth trajectories across Africa, reflecting both regional disparities and sector-specific challenges.
That was a 3 Business News Desk report. Away from that, the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications has stated that it would support any efforts to have the electronic transactions levy scrapped. This comes after the announcement by NPP presidential candidate Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia that he intends to eliminate the levy and other taxes if elected. Speaking to 3 Business, CEO of the chamber, Dr. Engineer Kenneth Ashigbe, reiterated the fact that the e-levy remains a regressive tax and a disincentive to the country's financial inclusion efforts.
Well, I think the point about it is that you know that as a chamber we have been talking about the fact that the principle of the policy is wrong. You cannot, as a country, have a strategy where you're pushing digitization and then in another breath you tax the transmission of that money in a digital means. And I'm not surprised the Vice President has said what he said. If you are a watcher of the space, you would notice that just before e-levy was announced, he had even talked about the fact that digital transactions were not supposed to be taxed. So I'm not surprised that he says that if he comes, he would scrap it. The e-levy in its form, the way it is, we might have recovered a bit, but it is not, it's a regressive tax, and there are a lot of discriminatory things about that. You know, as we speak, you and I, if we send transactions via the bank, we are exempted up to 20,000. But my auntie in Asadame or in Chame, for example, wants to send money to somebody 120 CDs, there's a tax on it. So I would support anybody who would want to take out the e-levy.
That was Engineer Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe. He's the CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications. Now, away from that, the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization has indicated that the Ghana.gov platform has so far facilitated the collection of 210 billion cedis, underscoring its pivotal role in revenue mobilization in the country. The Sector Minister, Esla Usu-Kufu, disclosed this at a Ministry of Information press briefing earlier yesterday. According to the minister, the Ghana.gov platform has helped reduce corruption, transform revenue growth, and enhance ease of doing business across government ministries and agencies.
Ghana.gov has facilitated the collection of an impressive amount of 210 billion Ghana cedis. This substantial amount underscores the platform's pivotal role in streamlining financial transactions, enhancing transparency, and bolstering the nation's fiscal integrity. This milestone symbolizes the tangible impact of digital innovation on public services delivery, economic efficiency, and citizen empowerment. By harnessing the power of technology to centralize and optimize revenue collection processes, Ghana.gov has not only expedited financial transactions, but also minimized bureaucratic red tape and mitigated the risk of revenue leakages, effectively addressing the issue of public sector corruption.
Meanwhile, the minister also reiterated government's commitment to expanding telecommunications across the country, especially to rural areas. The minister says government has completed over 1,000 digital planned cities in rural areas as at February 2024, with 618 already operational.
The government in 2020 secured a 155 million euro facility from the China Exim Bank to start the Ghana Rural Telephony and Digital Inclusion Project in partnership with Huawei and China National Technical Import and Export Corporation. They engaged a local partner, Ascend Digital Solutions, to execute this project. As at February 2024, 1,010 of the planned sites have been successfully constructed, with 618 of them already operational, offering essential voice and data services to citizens in about 1,620 rural communities who can now make calls and use data services, thereby enhancing social and economic activities in these communities.
So that was the Sector Minister, Esla Kufu, speaking there. Now, before we go, former Managing Director of Car Bank, Frank Edu, has blamed the country's high unemployment rate on the education system and leadership. The number of graduates for each year keeps increasing, adding up to the number of already existing unemployed graduates. Frank Edu suggests deliberate efforts are needed to address the rising unemployment situation in the country.
Your GDP growth is less than 6%. So you're not expanding your economy large enough to create jobs, but you are producing students, okay? Now, one of the saddest things for me as somebody in education as well is for whatever reason, we decided to turn our technical institutes into universities. These were technical institutes set up by Kwame Nkrumah for specific technical subjects and expertise. We turn them into universities and then we tell them to do social humanities. That is, for me, something that I don't understand. It's just a setting usurpation of the powers of the technical people in the area of education, for instance, by the politicians. And this creating all this mess.
So that was a former managing director of Carbank, Frank Edu, speaking there. The full version of the interview will air on Monday. That's today at 6 p.m. on Business Focus on TV3. Bringing an end to Business Daily. For more business stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe.